Alrighty, we are rolling. Here we go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody. Welcome back to Johnny's Reviews. I'm Johnny, ladies and gentlemen, and on the other side of the table we got another amazing guest. Ladies and gentlemen, she is an actress. She works as a cast member at Walt Disney World. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be Mallory Murdock. Mallory, if you want to just wave at the camera, just let everybody say, hey, how are you doing? You doing all right today?
I'm good.
Good? A little tired, a little bit on the sleepy end. Yeah, you said you had a rough night last night. Yeah. Well, Mallory, I just wanted to see how you were today. I wanted to bring you on, just kind of let a lot of my viewers and listeners know that, there's a let's just say like a pathway to success or anything that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you were an actress, and yes, do you want to shed a little bit of light on that one, just to kind of tell a little bit?
Well, I started mainly with theater. I actually started acting in high school.
All right.
And then it was mainly musicals. I didn't do anything, I didn't do any plays. It was just mainly musicals for a while. And once I turned 18, I started finding a lot of film stuff because I'm from Georgia.
Right.
And I live really close to Atlanta. And there was just a lot of stuff coming to my hometown, like they needed extras for something, or stand-ins or featured roles. So that's kind of how I got started in the film industry. I haven't done musicals or theater in a while, but Georgia's become the Hollywood of the South, so it's become more and more easy to do those kind of things and get casting calls. So that's kind of how that started.
So you started with theater, and you kind of knew that you had a knack for something. Like if I had to ask you what makes a good actor, like what would you say?
I feel like the people who have the most, gonna sound weird, the most experience in life, I guess. Everybody has their own story, and I feel like the people who have gone through the most, like tragedy, or who felt like extreme emotions, make the best kind of actors. And I've certainly gone through my fair share of things that kind of help me portray certain roles.
Gotcha.
Like my first filming one, I was just in a funeral scene, and they said, okay, I need everybody to not just be sad, you're at a funeral, you just lost someone. And then I just instinctively, I knew exactly what that was. So the tears just came flowing through. And somebody who definitely just really perseveres and who's determined and is actually passionate about acting. I know too many people who just kind of want the aesthetic of it. Yeah, and they want to say that I was in a film.
I know some people, so I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It's all too familiar.
Yeah.
But there are people out there who actually enjoy it and who just have a strong passion for it. And I've seen that through the years of even theater and even in college when I was studying musical theater, the short time as that was, I just saw some people who were just amazing at it naturally. Right. Some people had to work for it, but at least they're passionate about it.
So, because that's really interesting, especially because just me looking in it from a audience perspective, and I see the emotion you're talking about, and you can kind of really depict on the people that had had an event happen to them that kind of they can draw from, and they can kind of oh my gosh, you can make somebody feel what you felt during that sort of time and place. And that's skill. I think that's perfectly how would you say it? That's perfectly, that puts a lot of essence to a lot of actors now. And I can't, because would it have to do with age? Because you said it you said the older they are, the more experienced they are.
Maybe not so much that. Because I know a lot of, I don't know.
Well, young, actors, the young actors that are coming up, and then how would you kind of rate them with your opinion?
So I've seen a lot of interviews with actors, and I've sat down when they're across interviewing with someone, and a lot of kid actors who are just incredible to me, at least, are Shia LaBeouf and Thora Birch, and everybody who spoke of those actors, like the kid actors from like when I was a child, a lot of the people would say like their co-stars would say, oh, they were really intelligent kids. And I think it takes, if you're a child actor, it just takes a lot of maturity, and
Right.
you really do have to be like, I mean, you're a working kid. So,
Right.
I mean, it just, the fact that they can just bring all that, they don't necessarily have the experience maybe, but they just know how to portray the actor. And that's part of being an actor, is trying to make people believe like you are that actor. And, like Johnny Depp, for example, I thought his was natural talent, but he goes to all these different lengths of just like getting his actor acting lessons. There we go. And he just, for him, if I see him in different movies, I don't see Johnny Depp. I see Captain Jack Sparrow.
The character
Yeah.
he's portraying, like that.
Yeah.
Would that be like a hard thing for British actors? Like because let's just say if they try to impersonate like an American, and you can kind of see like, okay, is you're trying so hard, or is that, you know, you're trying to?
It's actually, it's hard to say. I've seen a lot of great British actors, but kind of back to the Johnny Depp thing, he, like when I see him, it's just different characters. But for Emma Watson, for example, she's a fantastic actor, but every time I see her in a different movie, I'm just like, Hermione Granger. It's Hermione Granger.
You mean the Beast? You didn't think so?
Oh gosh, I tried, but it was
I
just
know.
Hermione Granger with the Beast.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the
Well,
same role.
that's her iconic role. That's what
Yeah.
everybody knows her as.
And Bella's kind of the same. She's
Yeah.
smart and very determined. So I mean, like, it's not that she's a bad actor, but it's just I see the same person.
Right.
Yeah.
See, okay, and I mean, so you said you've done work, and like you've done a little bit of acting, and do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
So once I started doing just the side things, like the extra roles and whatever, I took a few acting lessons, not too many, because once I started getting serious about it, that's when I moved down here. And I learned a good bit from my acting teacher. A lot of things that she taught me was that a lot of people just want to jump into it. And
Right.
yes, a lot of the time unfortunately, it's come to the point of where it's about networking and or just knowing the right person to get a role. And I know that all too well. She said the best way for an agent to look at you is to get experience.
Right.
And a lot of people think that, oh, I'll get experience by being an extra in a lot of stuff. And a lot of people kind of they don't look down on it, but if they see that you're an extra in a lot of stuff, they're like, okay, there's a reason why they're just an extra.
Do they look at it like that?
Pretty
Man,
much,
that's crazy.
at least the people I've run into.
Right.
And I met with a casting director. I was on the set of a Facebook Watch show, and I didn't realize I was sitting next to the casting director. But we were just making small talk because I was just in a scene, and they just needed my head to keep the continuity
Right.
going. So we were just making small talk on the side, and she said, what we want to see, yes, is we just want to see the experience, because a lot of people, again, they just jump into this thinking they can get an agent, and a lot of the times they'll get scammed by somebody.
Some agent that just kind of like throws them into really bad roles, or just
that, or they'll ask for payment. And I try to tell people, especially down here, if they are asking for any kind of payment right away, it's not real, because they basically, agents kind of work off commission.
Right.
And it's easier to fall into scams into bigger cities, of course. So you have to really, really do your research.
Now, did you experience like Cali in LA and
A little bit in LA, but more so in Florida.
in Florida? Okay.
Yeah, surprisingly, more so in Florida. Yeah, because they have those radio commercials like, "Do you want to be a Disney star or Nickelodeon star?"
Right, right.
Yeah,
You're like, I want to do this.
Yeah, and there was even at one point, they brought an actor to one of those things too, because I was like, all right, I'll try it out, and I went to one of them, And they brought one of the actors from Wizards of Waverly Place, the guy that plays Justin's friend.
Oh, really?
He was there. And he gave everybody a little autographed picture of himself.
Already autographed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that's so
great.
ego. His ego's like way up there. He's like,
Yeah. And I don't know if you realized that it was definitely a scam. But we went through this audition process, and they're like, yeah, you just read from the script, and then they called you back if you made it. And I made it with them, and went back, and they were going through the process, and they were like, and that'll be a fee, you know, at first of $1,000. And I was like,
right.
just stared at them, and I was like, no. And I just walked right out. I was kind of shocked, but that was the most like annoying one I've ever been to. LA, like, thankfully I experienced that after the Florida one. So when I went to LA, it was for a very short time, but you could just tell right away. They're just like, okay, so we're just going to set you up with this, with like this annual fee. And then this will cover this, and this.
Straight away, like right when you got here, and you were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And even though I had headshots, they're like, we're going to send you to this person, and their headshots start at $500. I was like, no, not happening. So
wow. Like, they have their own like ways of making money, but also like they have to, if they're under contract, like we have to send you to this person just because, you know, we have to give them some business or something.
And a lot of agents do that. They'll say, but it's more so of a recommendation.
Okay.
Even with modeling agencies, they have a stronger recommendation than the acting agencies. But they're not going to be like, you have to go here. They'll just be like, hey, we highly
recommend this.
Because these pictures look a lot better, and this is a lot of our portfolios.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. Like, having the background from LA and here, and you're saying like Georgia, like it's just people think that they have to go to like a lot of these specific places to make it.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I started after high school. I was like, I want to move to New York or LA. You don't have to move there.
Well, that's the ideal place to go. It's just kind of like, you know, LA is the prime capital for making it, and then New York, you got the modeling, you got everything that has to do with the Broadway shows, you know, everything has to be like, it's crazy. I've never been, but
it's crazy.
Is it?
In both places, it's crazy. But if you think about it, everybody and their mother are down there trying to do the exact same thing you are. Yeah. So not to say that you don't have a chance, but
you got to know, like you got to know before you get there that there's going to be competition everywhere.
Yeah. And you kind of have to save up for those cities too. And that's the great thing about Georgia. It's actually, loads of people say this now, it's become the Hollywood of the South.
Right.
And a lot of TV shows and movies, they're starting to film more down there because A, it's cheaper. 2, LA doesn't have a lot of land. It seems like it's just a lot of desert. So that's kind of how I started, because a lot of the movies and TV films, like Walking Dead, is filmed 30 minutes from my house. And
that's
I had
crazy.
no idea. I know. We have a lot of hills and like open areas that they can use, and it's just a lot cheaper. And that was the other beautiful thing about like starting that career in Georgia, was that it was a lot cheaper. LA was just too expensive. New York was crazy busy and expensive. And then I just finally stayed home, and I was like, light bulb. That's
crazy. And you said you're friends with Colin, and I also had him on, and he was talking about, we were talking about it for a little bit, and we were talking about it being in New Mexico, supposedly, and he said he was kind of like saying like, yeah, it's in Georgia now, and it's like kind of like slowly coming to Florida, so that he gets like a lot of acting. And then he says like it's something about like where the industry goes, and he talked about it a little bit in New Mexico, and there was like a lot of work there, whether it's cheaper or you know, just I guess like maybe the setting is what they were asking for. I don't know. Maybe. And I was like, well, dude, I didn't know that. Like, that's cool. That's cool to know. I didn't. So then I'm like, I would assume that they would move it around just depending if it's cheap, or just depending if like that's what they're longing for, is like if they're making a whole series over there, like The Walking Dead was like all woodland, and it adds to the theme, and that's what's really cool about it. Now, what you said you grew up as a theater, someone in theater, and then you kind of moved into, is it the same realm, or is it kind of like it's not? No.
They have two beauties to them. Theater, because it's live,
Right.
there are two sides of it really. It's quote bad because if you mess up, you mess up and you have to think
Right.
on your feet. But the good thing is, and this is like my favorite part, is at the end you'll know if you do a good job,
Okay.
whether or not people will clap or not. And like I was in Fiddler on the Roof, for example, my sophomore year, and I remember our first night we didn't get too many laughs unless it was like the places where they were supposed to laugh.
Right.
But the second night was really odd because they laughed at stuff they really weren't supposed to. Like I've been told that I'm very expressive with my face. And I did that a lot, especially during the musicals. And I played Hoddle, one of the sisters.
Okay.
And there was just one scene where like my dad, Tevye, he said something and I just kind of like jerked my head back and just scowled at him, and everybody just like fell out of their chair laughing. I was like, no, that wasn't supposed to be funny. So that's the beauty of it. And it's just, you just get a sense of overwhelming, I don't know, like it's just so great when you hear people laugh and clap and all that. And it's just a great feeling.
Right.
Whereas film, you have all the time in the world, it seems like, to redo a shoot. Like I did that funeral scene I was talking about for Need for Speed. We filmed all day. So we started at like 7 or 8 in the morning and we finished around 10 or 11 at night. It was like a 2-second scene in the movie.
Yeah, but it's like that perfect scene that they're asking for. And then keep going.
And they reshot so many things I didn't realize, because that was my first
Movie.
film that I did. Yeah. And I just didn't realize how much went into it. And it's actually crazy to think about looking back, because that Rami Malek was in that film.
Right.
And I got a picture with him, and he's like winning an Oscar now. And it's those small things that you can say like, I was right next to him.
I was right there.
Yeah. And Kid Cudi was there. He gave me a fist bump. I didn't know who Kid Cudi was, but we had finished filming the scene and he turned around and he just went like that. And I was like, okay.
There you go.
Right. So it's kind of cool to say in film, like depending on what you're in,
right,
that you filmed with such and such, or you talked to the casting director. And, you know, there's two good sides and like bad sides to both of them, but they're both just great. I wouldn't trade any of it.
What do you think are the bad sides?
So the bad things, I don't know if I could say bad things, of the, I guess.
Well, let's just say not bad things, but just kind of things you need to look at before kind of going into this.
Yeah.
But like, what are those things that you're saying?
I guess it's more things that you should probably know, because a lot of people don't like it. I only did theater mainly in high school, but I have friends who've done the West Palm Theater, I think it's called, down here. It's like 2 hours away. And it's kind of off Broadway-ish, I believe. And one thing people don't know, if they're serious about like Broadway or even plays, it's almost 24/7. Like you rehearse. And it's not like high school where you do like 2 or 3 plays a week and that's it. This is like the big leagues. Like this is like you're putting on a show every other week, because it would change constantly. But it's like what did you say? It's that whole strip that would be. Yeah, and it's not even every other week. Like my friend, he just did Beauty and the Beast. Okay. And he was Beast, so he had a very big role. And he sent me his schedule because I was going to try to come down there and see him, and it was about 2 or 3 months, I feel like. Shoot. But it was almost every single day they were doing the exact same thing, and they did about 2 or 3 shows a day, and I was like, yo. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that if you're that serious about it, I feel like they would get super annoyed with it. I guess it's kind of the same with even being at Disney. Like a lot of the performers here in the parade, it's the same thing almost every single day, right. And you just have to be committed to it. in filming, the bad things that I've found so far is sometimes
It's okay. You can talk about it.
Sometimes you have to film a summer scene when it's 58 degrees in Georgia. And I've had to do that before.
Right.
And it's very hard because I'm a very cold person. So
Right.
there are a lot of scenes where I'm supposed to stay still and it's supposed to be hot outsid.
Oh, cold that way, like a theme of like cold.
Oh,
like,
no, not like
like get out of my face, cold.
No, I couldn't if I tried. But there have been scenes where I've definitely had to, like, I'm the reason why we had to stop and then redo it because I'm sitting there shaking and they're like, hey, can you in the back, can you not? And I'm like
shake.
And I've done a lot of overnight scenes too, which aren't terrible as long as you have caffeine. But again, doing the same thing over and over again, whether it's just walking back and forth or saying a line over and over again. And sometimes they want you to say it over and over again the same way so that they have this shot, or they just want you to try it like 15 different ways,
right?
Figure out what they want and then do it.
Yes, okay. So see, that's the thing. Like they're wasteful, not wasteful in a sense, but like if you their director's very picky, or like if somebody is just in the back and saying like do it this way, do it this thing, you could spend, like you said, like hours on just one scene.
Yeah,
man,
it's happened before.
Yeah, so like, what do you think stops actors? Like, what do you think, from pursuing a kind of dream like this, like, or just kind of like going in the realm of like maybe this is what they want to do, and then they see it and they stop. Why do you think that is?
So I've read up on a lot of actors, like kid actors, who were in the limelight for a little bit, and they either, if mainly it happens with kid actors, I feel like, but I feel like they stop their career early because it was just too much for them. It's too much limelight and they get too much attention later on, and they're not a fan of that. What stops people nowadays, I feel like, because a lot of people want that attention, is people don't realize they really have to work for it. Like, they really have to sacrifice a lot. They have to sacrifice sleep. They definitely have to sacrifice money because you have to go towards acting lessons, and agents won't look at you unless you have that kind of, like, they'll look at your resume, but they want to know that you're serious about it and that you're taking lessons.
Right.
And some people go all out. They go take dancing lessons, voice lessons, acting lessons. They do it all.
Did you have to do all that?
I didn't have to, but
you felt like it would look good if they're asking for a dancer.
Well, and I grew up doing ballet, tap, and jazz, so that was kind of
like a good plus for you.
Yeah, and I can sing, but I've never had a voice lesson, so that should probably.
But is that what they ask for? They just like, go ahead and sing.
They don't really ask for extra stuff. You just tell them what you can do, and a lot of people, they will put stuff on their resume like, I can rollerblade, and they're asking for a rollerblade, and when they get out there, they're like, I can't do it. Like, that's something I try to tell people, like, don't lie on your resume. Like, yeah, you want to do what you can to
kind of get you where you need to go.
Yeah, but it just ends up biting you in the butt a lot of the times. It's the same for languages. People are like, I can speak French, and they get on set and they're like, Je m'appelle quoi?
They give you like the most basic form of French right there. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were asking for me to give you complete sentences. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
actually a Friends episode on that, actually. We can learn from Friends. Joey.
Now, okay, so, I mean, you mentioned, like, young actors and the way that they kind of perceive the film industry, and we kind of talked about that. Like, with technology kind of coming up and everything, it's easier to get famous.
Yeah.
So, like, how would I put this? Like, can it be a drawback for, like, someone to get famous, off of just, like, putting up videos, doing this, and then they kind of get a role that way when you put in all this sort of, like, do you feel like, have you ever met somebody where they're like, I'm doing all this work, and
Uh-huh.
you get the spot I wanted,
Yeah.
and you like how?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
It happens way too often, especially here at Disney. Um,
Disney. We love Disney. We can go all day talking about Disney, ladies and gentlemen. But
um, but it happens so often. Like
right,
somebody's at the right place at the right time, and here I am trying for however many
right,
years I've been doing this. And
yeah,
my boyfriend actually pointed this out. He actually used to work for Jimmy Fallon,
yeah,
and he said a lot of the writers that they find for most of those shows
right.
come off of like Twitter or Instagram or something like that. And I thought that was
Huh.
kind of strange. Like people they just write their comments or their content, and then other people are just like, oh, that kid's funny, let's grab him up. And
Yeah,
that shocked me, but at the same time, really thinking about it, I'm like, no, it's the same with acting, like, or dancing. Like I could be on a train singing somewhere and there just happened to be a casting director right there. So many people get discovered that way, and that's fantastic for them, but it sucks for the people who've tried really hard and can't get crap.
yeah.
Like it
No,
just
and I mean that's the thing. Like it's just like I mean technology can be used as a really good tool. So like whenever I bring that up, and I'm like man, like people would get famous for like real quick if they do something dumb or
Yeah.
like you know it could be like some things that they don't want to get famous for, but
Yeah.
they end up getting famous for it.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah, right.
It's,
So it's like I like maybe like some of the like people would say it's like, oh yeah, just like keep putting up all these videos and maybe you get noticed. Because I mean I don't know, like I've never been on to an audition. Like I liked theater, but I was never considered as like the theater kid.
yeah.
And maybe just because of that, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever try to feel like I would be a great
Right.
actor.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just that alone kind of got me to
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, okay, you got to be really really good at
Yeah.
keeping composure, keeping like a good
Mm-hmm.
facial feel. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like I feel like there's like a lot of things that they ask for. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that's crazy.
And some
That's-
people are born with it, and some people
Yeah.
work their butts off just to get as good as the people who are born with it.
Right.
I don't think I was born with it. I've always wanted to be an actor, but I didn't
Yes.
start until later, and then I didn't get the hang of it because I did a lot of sports back in high school,
Right.
and my parents were just mainly like, "No, keep your focus
Get the
there."
status quo, like you
Yeah.
know. Once you're out of my house, and you can kind of do that.
It's kind of how it happened.
Yeah. So everybody can understand that. Like you know, even like kind of like you probably came from a small town. You know, everybody kind of knows each other, so
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. Now, like, with the whole like streaming services kind of coming up and everything, you know, just getting your perspective on this, and this is why I like talking to people that know sort of the industry and know like entertainment and how abrupt it can suddenly change for people. Like, would you see this as a good golden opportunity to go into more of that, or to kind of keep your lane in a more film sort of perspective? You know what I mean? Just for acting, as in, is it better to kind of have like a sustainable like lineup of episodes, or kind of make it with the one movie?
I think it just kind of varies. Like, I'd be okay with either one.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of like your work family, like where I work right now. I love everybody.
That's how we
to death. I love everybody to death.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like on the TV show, like you're working with them and like you're
Yes.
close with them, but you know,
That's-
get some space. And I feel like you can get a lot more of that if you're on a movie.
Okay.
I think I've only done two movies, I think, and the rest have been shows. And I've only been, I think, about 2 or 3 episodes of one show. And even then, like, I can't imagine I feel like you have to be more passionate, I guess, to be on the shows, just because like I feel like it's just like a lot more, because you never know if it'll take a hit like the like Friends or Big Bang Theory. Like they were on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think you really have to get along with your coworkers. You really have to, like a lot of people say like, oh, I don't have to, but it just makes it a lot easier just to get along with everybody.
Right.
And I feel like you just kind of have to make that effort in order for it to just all fit and to just make it all better for everybody.
Okay.
You know, the work environment. And I try to tell people, just try to make friends on set. Like, even if you're there for 2 seconds, it's just better. Because, I mean, you could be sitting there and it's awkward just to sit there and be quiet to yourself.
Yeah. And it's a great way to network.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you're good with people there, like it can, like,
Lead to
hey, I
something.
actually have someone that actually fit this role.
Yeah.
Or, you know, do they take a lot of that in consent, like, or consideration?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, I've sat next to people who have worked on bigger films.
Okay.
Or have just lived somewhere and they tell me like, hey, don't go there, or don't do this project. It's, you know, they've given me good tips. And I'm not saying like people you have to be like buddy Facebook friends, like IMing each other a lot, but
Right.
it just helps.
See, and that's I don't know if you like that, like, or like, does it kind of like the whole networking process where you got to know people to kind of get, and how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it draws away from people's actual like talent, or do you feel like that could be a good thing if you're in the right place at the right time?
Yes and no.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. There are a lot of actors. I'm not going to name any names, but
I mean, no one's telling you should, but I mean, if you want, it's okay.
let's just say I was in one of the movies I was in.
Okay.
This actor, I'm not a fan because I just don't think they show a lot of emotion. They're very flat, no matter what they're in.
Ooh.
But I think they're only an actor because of who their parents are.
Yeah.
And that kind of has something to do with it. And sometimes that's just how it is. And you got to wonder, like, how did they get this
Like,
role?
what the
And
fuck?
yeah, and even in theater, there have been plays that I've tried out for, or well, say musicals that I've tried out for back in my hometown. And I remember I tried out for The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And there was this girl, I remember me and my friend, we tried out for Liesel. And another girl who was also trying out with us couldn't sing whatsoever. And I don't say that to be mean, but she could not carry a tune.
Yeah.
We found out later she got the part, and we're like, what the? And then we look on the list, we see the casting director. It's her mom.
Aww.
So that kind of stuff happens. And I mean, just networking anywhere in general,
Right.
like no matter what your job is, it helps a lot. And sometimes it can lead to good things. I have met a lot of people here at Disney who have done a lot of things that I've wanted to do, just not even with film or theater. And it's led to good things.
Great things.
Yeah. So it never hurts to network, even if it doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
It's just,
it doesn't
just
work
good.
out. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, it's good. It's good that you actually have a sort of connection with anything. It keeps the door open for, maybe it just didn't work out right now with your time, but
yeah.
you know,
And I
later
believe
on.
timing is everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So when I was like, these boat terms, when I was full throttle with
Full throttle.
with the film acting, I was in California for that point in time. I just I'm trying to find the right words.
Well, time, like, it would, I would I would prescribe anybody to kind of know how to time manage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's where you're going. I just feel like, it necessarily isn't wasting time when you sort of, and I mean, cliche as it is, but it's just like, I love doing this. And it's like, it's a way to kind of help me get informed, but also it's just like, I make time for it.
Yeah.
And necessarily a lot of people today, whether how fast this world is going, people don't know how to time manage. And I think that's kind of a drawback to kill you whenever you want to go and pursue different things. So whenever you know that you have to do all these things to kind of culminate a great actress or actor, making time for these sort of things you're gonna have to go and take dance lessons,
Right.
or go and sing, and go and do these. If you don't know how to really manage your time,
Mm-hmm.
it's just gonna be a big pish posh
Yeah.
of waste. And I mean, that's kind of like, I think over time, it kind of gets better. But
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
even teaching, like, and that's what I want to do, is just teach people
Mm-hmm.
at a younger age, or just kind of like when they know it's like enough is enough. Like, this
Right.
is time managing is a way to kind of accumulate
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can sort of discard this now,
Right.
and I can just bring in this into my life, because I know it's going to benefit me in the
Yeah.
long run.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Kind of. Yeah.
I
And a
have
lot
no
of
idea
people.
of that, but I mean, I just kind of like, you went blank, so I was like, all right.
It's trying to find the right words, I guess. Because a lot of people, they definitely rush into things. I definitely did, because I was
Okay.
just so excited to do it. And it's, I think at the time I was definitely too young, because I didn't have too much experience in it. And I wasn't quite as stable as I was now.
Okay.
Not like mentally or anything. Well, maybe. But a lot of people, they'll try to do kind of what Walt Disney did. He had his little cardboard suitcase and went to California with like, I think $2 in his
Yeah.
pocket. Yeah, that doesn't work out for everybody.
Yeah.
I had maybe like $200, and I was trying to go to LA to start my career, and no, just don't do it. I don't care how lucky you think you are. It's better to have savings. And that's another thing my agent said, just make sure you're stable in income, make sure you have savings and something to fall back on. And that's kind of why. So when I first started college, I was going for musical theater.
Okay.
And not to say people shouldn't, but because she told me that before I finally decided musical theater, I was like, I kind of want to, like, it's easier just to get like a communications degree, like something else. I'm not passionate about it, but it's something to fall back on.
Fall back on.
But you can take acting lessons on the side, and that's just about the same equivalency of taking acting lessons and having a degree in it almost. So, I mean, it's better to have just that stability before you like rush into things. And I still kind of am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kind of person who I would rather take the experience rather than people telling me like, hey, don't do that. I'm like,
Right.
okay. And
It's
then
like, sure, yeah, whatever.
yeah. And I'll do it for myself. I'll regret it later. But
You're like, next.
it's kind of, as weird as this sounds, it's good to have the bad experience, especially if you
Okay.
don't listen to people, because you can help other people or say like, I've experienced that and now I know not to do that.
Right.
Whereas if you read about it or hear about it, you're just like, I'll be okay. But
Do you feel like it's like that now, though? Like, I mean, it's just like, I bring this up a lot, but it's just like the failures, and you kind of, people are too scared to do them, or go to, like, they're too scared to just go to a movie, because I think, yeah, but even being an actress or an actor, that's like your ego.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it plummets. So you're just like, if you don't get that part, like you're just done. You feel like, I'm done with everything I get, and then you're like, maybe it takes 2 months later to kind of get yourself back up. But I just feel like with a prime sort of like idealizing role that, or job title that acting is, that you had to also always have a front. But I feel like that would kind of be so scared and intimidating for a lot of people to kind of go into.
Yeah.
And people won't know like if that's what they're good at or not, because
Right.
they're too scared.
Definitely. And I mean, I've definitely had that before. And I had the pleasure of meeting Warwick Davis's wife. Not a lot of people know who he is. I love him.
I do.
Yes.
I know.
I've had the crush on him since I was like 7. And I bought his book.
Tell me how you really feel.
I mean, if we're being honest. So he actually sang for the Candlelight, or he didn't sing for it. He narrated the Candlelight Processional 2 years ago, I feel like.
Okay.
Or last year. And I was in Hollywood Studios, and I see his kids walk by, and I knew who his kids was because I just read his book, and
Yeah.
he's got pictures of his family. It's so
Uh-huh.
sweet. And I was like, that's Warwick Davis's kids. And I approached them. Sure, they want a restraining order now, but I talked to them, and I was like, is your dad doing like one of the Star Wars conference thing? They're like, no, he's at the Candlelight Processional tonight. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I grabbed my boyfriend at the time, and I was just like, we're booking it over to Epcot. Got to see him speak, and then later everybody cleared out, and
Who's this crazy person that was talking to
right.
me?
Everybody cleared out, and I saw his family was still there, and I said, hey, it was a pleasure meeting you guys. And then I saw his wife, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm Mallory. And I don't know, we just kind of talking, and they were waiting for work to get done, I guess, or waiting for the next show. But I said, because she used to act too. That's actually how her and Warwick met, was on the set of Willow.
Okay.
And I said, what's the best advice you can give to any struggling actor or any actor? And she's like, keep going to the auditions, keep going to all of them. And that has stuck in my head, because the worst experience I've had with auditions is sad to say, but is with Disney World. I've been trying out with them for anything and everything.
Ooh.
8 years. 8 years.
Listen,
nothing.
I give so many like respect for anybody that go, like one of my friends in parking, he was just kind of telling me they're very picky, very picky. So that's why I'm like, if you can make it that far, you were a character performer? No,
I've tried.
I've tried. Never mind. I was like, I got a character performer on you guys. But
I've tried so hard. I mean, I've done the mascotting thing, so
yeah,
character performer, but
the face character is what you were kind of longing for.
Yeah, even if I didn't get face character, I like being
in the suit. Yeah,
I love it. And I don't know, ever since she told me that, that's just like, as much as it hurts, especially for the face characters, where they're like, all right, bye everybody, like whose number we didn't call. And I've made it so close, mainly for like the fur characters, because I'd like to pride myself on my animation, like not only with my face, but I'm super wild, like with my emotions. And they are very strict, but even with that, you know, her words just always ring in my head, like, oh, I'm not gonna make it, but she said to go to every audition. So I mean, as many as the rejections, I've gotten more rejections in Disney than any thing ever, and that's the sucky thing with it. Being a performer, actor, we have the hardest job because we get the most rejection in the world.
I agree with you, and I like so wholeheartedly, because I mean, I just kind of like looking as a bystander, but not even saying it like that, but just kind of like, because I've made friends that are in the realm of being famous and whatnot, and I can see like the daily things that they have to do and the struggles, and you know, it's respectable, and you know, even just kind of like being on stage all the time, they're held to a different standard than like per se me and you are over here and transportation. And so like kind of talking about that, it's a high standard, and I give Disney a lot of props for that, because I mean, that's something that will stick like throughout time. And I think that's going to be something whenever a lot of technology takes a lot of things that the guest experience with just the fact that cast members alone kind of make that experience. Oh man, it's perfect. Like I mean, you've been with the company 8 years, and you can kind of tell like from the very get-go, like you knew you had to be at a high standard of, you got to know the 4 keys, you got to know everything, and you got to know like all these different things, and that's something that a great company would culminate and to teach and to inspire and to know, like, man, like it's not even just kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, but like when you drink the Kool-Aid, oh my gosh, like people will die for Disney. It's a respectable thing. Like,
it's insane. And I feel like in all the roles you kind of have to perform, like not in a fake way, but you really do.
And it doesn't even seem like a fake way, but like, because you have a new show every day, and that's something that like you have new people, like when you see like that little princess kind of walking up to you, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, you're the most like adorable thing, and you just kind of just want to give them whatever we have, or like, hey princess, how you doing? You know, it's just, and like that guest experience really does live on. Because I mean, did you ever go to Disney when you were little? So you remember like all the, what do you remember most? Like if you had to really pick.
So unfortunately, my family, we weren't really big on the meet and greets.
Okay.
I come from a family with 12 siblings.
Ooh.
So we were more ride driven. We didn't really watch the parades unless we were walking by. But I remember we would only see characters if they were just right there and we just happened to be next to them. And
12 siblings. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
That's great. That's great. I think my first memory was Captain Hook and Smee were outside of Pirates once we got off, and I was like, whatever age you are once you're in first grade, was that six or seven? And we walk out, and then all my siblings, we all see Smee, and for some reason, I don't blame them. They all kind of went over to Captain Hook, and I was the only one like standing next to Smee, and then, like he bent down and kissed me, and my oldest sister, she was like, he kissed you, and I was like, but it was funny, and it's like just something to remember. And
It's just to remember, like it's just an experience right there where you're just like, oh, so that's fun. And I like that.
We went to all 4 parks, but for some reason that's the main thing that stuck out, and like 2 other things. But I was actually looking at pictures from that same trip not too long ago, and I was like, I didn't even realize we saw all these characters. I just remember that one.
That's funny. Yeah, like I solely remember like one cast member that was, you know, the 50s diner in Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember. There's like 2 of them, right? Or is there
like
just
a prime time?
50s
prime time.
Yeah, and then I don't know. There was the
one Mama Melrose, maybe.
Probably.
Are you thinking of?
But I know someone with the TV or like the prime. I think it is 50s,
50s
prime
time.
And I remember her so fondly just because she had this way about her, whether the way she talked kind of like very 50s or just the kind of things that she would say, because they like make fun of you, like that's, or like
slap your hands.
yeah I'd never experienced that, but okay. But she had a way with the crowd, and with that, like everybody in my family remembers her, and so that was one sort of big thing that I can kind of respect on a cast member's point of view. And I'm like, oh, crap, I'm a cast member. Like like Halloween is right now, and just recently, like me and another cast member, we were just having fun. We were like they were just walking out, and someone had they had like little signs, like the little dry erase.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. I think I
did you see it?
The HNN.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It was like Hollywood Horror Nights or like Not So Scary. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
Mickey's Not So Scary.
Yes,
oh,
and then like guy kind of like turning around, and
the
then
meme.
So I think it was the guy or the girl I was walking with, like it was the one like over here is like take the tram, and then the one over here is like take the monorail, and then or a watercraft or something, and then the guy's like, or he said me, and then like we're the other cast member, we're just, it was fun. It was a fun
That's
thing,
great.
and like that stuff, like people remember, like you knew exactly what I was talking about, and like that was just recently.
Oh yeah.
So that's fun, and
yeah.
I mean, people, I think, did you ever think that you were gonna come to Disney and work here?
No, and I look back and I'm just like, it still blows my mind, because when you're a kid, you're just like, you think you want to be a doctor or something, or even if you want to work at Disney, but once you're actually doing it, you're like, huh. And my first job here, when I was a lifeguard,
you were CP.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like every step I took, like for some reason, it really hit me when I was in PhilharMagic.
Okay.
I took a Disney college program class called Disney Heritage.
Oh no, I don't know if that was here, but like leadership and like all these other ones that they give.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, keep going.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
And we were trying to find hidden Mickeys inside. For some reason, our class, we just went to Magic Kingdom, and we were trying to find hidden Mickeys inside PhilharMagic. And for some reason, when Simba, like when he gets really close to your face and saying, "I can't wait to be king," I was like, I'm a cast member. And I don't know why. Like it was like October, and I had arrived in August, but for some reason it hit me then.
That's when it hit you.
Yeah, and even where I work now in watercraft, thinking about the
Which is
ferry
great.
boats. Yes, I love it.
Parking is great.
It's incredible because I've taken the ferry boats so many times, and a lot of the memories are of my mom. Like when we're on the ferry boat, she's like, all right, say bye to Disney World until next time. And that's what I have of the ferry boat. And now like I'm about to start driving those. I drive the other two boats, but then like working my way up to the ferry boat, I'm just like,
Captain Mallory.
so it's just weird to think about. Like, and I've taken pictures on it before,
Right.
and it's probably my coworkers. And
Right.
I was watching those old Disney World music videos from like the 90s, I think.
Which one?
Like the campgrounds, Mickey's Camp Sing Along, and you have to look it up.
I
It's on
probably have to
YouTube.
look it up.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know.
they were like made when I was born or a few years before. But I was actually thinking about it because there's a beach one, and I used to work at Typhoon, and I remember I looked up that one and I watched it, and I was like, I work there. And then now working on the boats, the other day actually, I looked up the campground ones,
Mm-hmm.
and because I remembered a scene where they were on one of the boats, and then I looked at the boat. I was like, "That's the Navigator. That's
Yeah,
what I
know,
drive."
That's what I did.
And that was really weird to think about. And I sent it to my friend who's a Disney fanatic, and she's a nut. And I just like I sent her a picture, and I was like, "That's what I drive," because we watch those all the time. And she was just like, "Well, that's just weird to think about." And it's funny because looking at their outfits back then, they wore a lot of like coats, and like they really looked nautical. And
Do you? Well, I saw the big gray coats. That do y'all still wear those, or like maybe like in the wintertime? I mean, Christmas when it comes
we
around.
have thicker jackets.
Yeah.
Last year was brutal.
What do you mean, like it was hot?
No, it was so cold.
Was
It
it?
was so cold. We had
Well-
people on the launches getting like freeze burns or whatever they're called.
For real? I mean, I came in January and it was cold around that time.
It was mainly like November to late December.
Okay.
Because I was getting trained on cruisers at the time. That's
Okay.
the first boat you get trained on. And I remember just in the morning when we start, it's like 5 a.m. And then like I was like this, like I couldn't even keep my hands like
Yeah.
steady on the wheel. And it was bad. It
Yeah.
was so bad. But yeah, they used to have like the heavy-ish Navy jackets that actually looked like they were like captains of a submarine almost. And I was like, thank God we don't have to wear that anymore. I probably would have passed out from heat exhaustion.
I would bet, but I mean, being in Florida for just like about 8 months now, it just kind of blows my mind to think like it gets cold. Like what?
Yeah, right.
But
especially
like,
on the water.
yeah, and like watercraft is a whole different thing.
Mhm.
And I mean, I like y'all's costumes. It's just
very
it's amazing.
pricey.
Yeah. I mean, but like just driving those boats, and I'm like, dude, are you just free like to, or are you on like on a rail?
I wish we were on a rail.
So yeah, y'all just free. It's free.
Yeah.
Free waters. Yeah.
And it says it in our little spiels too. It says docking can be bumpy, and people just don't listen to those.
Mm.
And so if it's really windy, I try to get on the little our intercom. I was like, hey guys, heads up. Or I'll try to make a joke at it. Like if I bump the dock a little bit, I'm like,
Right.
well, at least you know it's not a track.
You see people just jolt, and you're
Yeah.
like, we made it.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Especially on the ferry boats, if it's super windy and we kind of hit the dolphins, the two
Yeah,
things
yeah.
coming in, and people are like, I thought this was on a track. I'm like, nope.
No. Oh, like because whenever I feel, I'm like, is this on a track? Like whenever
Yeah,
you're kind of
yeah.
getting close to the edge, or kind of getting close to the
Yeah.
entranceway.
Especially the ferry boats, because all they do is just go back and forth.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks
That
that's
they're
on a track,
on
but
track.
free floating.
I bet. I mean, like even just thinking that, or just thinking like what are you most looking forward to with like a lot of Disney?
I guess just kind of growing with the company. I've been off and on with it for the last 6 years, and it's mainly because I miss the seasons. Because in Georgia I get all 4 seasons, but also I'll miss acting or something. But
Yeah.
now I'm kind of planted here for a little bit because I'm doing the Aspire program. But while I'm here, I'd kind of want to grow
Oh, you
with
did
it.
mention that. I remember that.
Yeah. So with that, I'm kind of stuck here for
Yeah.
a little bit, but I'm still gonna go audition.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that. That was like inspiring. Actually, kind of knowing.
How
That
many
they-
failures I had.
no, that, but like, just many people that I've met here, just in Florida, it's just like it gets me to understand that. Oh my gosh, there's plenty of people that you could learn from. There's plenty of people that like I'm gonna have like a music composer here pretty soon, and I'm just kind of like oh my gosh, like people do a lot of these really cool things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm looking at like the possibilities of people actually like growing here and just growing like as a like per se, if you wanted to keep growing, making a business and stuff like that, that's what I really mean. And I'm just kind of like, I see it and I'm like, whoa, like people blow me away here. I didn't feel like that. Or I'm from Texas, but like, see, so like I would actually have to go and look for them. Like, you know, I met Colin just at work, and he said I'm an actor, and I'm like, dude, for real? Like yeah, honestly, that's what literally. And just like where I work in general, that's where I would meet people, like meet people from many different backgrounds, and then I'm just kind of like, I want to meet you, and I'm like, I want to talk to you, and I want to know what you do. And so I think here there's a lot more things to talk about.
Oh my gosh,
so, you know what I mean? Because like when I talk about movies, someone chimes in real quick, and they're just kind of like, oh, let me tell you from experience. I'm like, experience? What do you mean? It's like, and then you told me you were in Need for Speed, and I was like,
excuse me,
what did you just say? Like, you were in a movie? Like, I didn't know that. And I'll just kind of like, that's great. Yeah. That's amazing.
It's insane, especially like I know in watercraft, a lot of the retired guys, like I'm like an introverted extrovert kind of deal. So like I'll talk to you. Sometimes I won't.
I feel like everyone's a mixture, but one sticks out more than the other.
And then there are people in our department who just can keep a conversation going and going.
Forever. Yeah. Like there's the same over there. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but you find out a lot of stuff. Like even if you don't want to hear it, there's some people, especially like.
Okay, I think it's. Yeah. Okay, it is going. All right. So yeah, before we were kindly interrupted by our little fiasco, what the heck was going on? Mallory was talking about the different types of watercraft levels and that I didn't know about, but that kind of got us off topic because we were rudely interrupted by my audio kind of going off. So from there, Bob Marley's alive. So from there, yeah, we were talking about that. We were talking about a little bit of the differences between each sort of captain, or what would you say, captain? Not captain.
Kind of levels
of kind of growing there. I was like talking, and then somehow my laptop just said it was going to restart, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. But let's just say a little bit, kind of going back to the basis of what we were talking about in the first place, which was hold on. Oh, there it goes. The basis of the acting as the kind of like not the portfolio, but the difference between the performing arts of Disney and how we were talking about a little bit of the differences between the theater and the movies there. Mm-hmm. So would the Disney aspect of it, though, the way that kind of the performers, are they held to that same standard from just the theater aspect?
Pretty much, because as opposed to, well, okay, so in theater, everything has to be bigger. Your motions, your facials, the makeup, everything. You have to be louder sometimes. Right. Even when you have to whisper, it has to be loud, kind of deal. Yeah. It's the same with Disney. And it's actually the Disney auditions kind of, even though I haven't really struck gold with them. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's okay. I've learned a lot from them, because after that I took on a lot of like mascotting jobs, and I was actually the mascot for the Rome Braves, and a lot of people would just compliment me. They're like, "You're a natural." I'm like, "Not exactly." um, and it's they, even if you don't get it, they teach you a lot, like just mainly about being animated, without like saying too much.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I know we both signed a contract. That's the one thing. Yeah, we're kind of capped, but
yeah.
it's okay.
It's worth it though. And I've actually helped people get in entertainment because I told them like how to be more animated, and it's they're the right height or they have the
Yeah.
right look, but like they didn't know like how to do certain things. Like they were just like walking like this and just normal hands down at the side. I actually taught one of my coworkers that. It was really funny. He can't do it to save his life. But I was like, no, you have to make it big. You have to be like,
Oh, the way you walk and the way you do this, like it's so
Yeah.
much. Like it's I just like the way that they move, even face characters. I don't know how they smile that much.
It
Like
hurts.
it hurts.
Yeah.
And I just kind of look at him like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like I know y'all get like I can't like I don't a lot into it, but I know y'all get rotated, and from there I'm just kind of like how can you do this all the time? Like, hey, how you doing?
Sometimes you just get used to it. Like I used to do parties where I would dress up as princesses and I would smile. I just got used to it. Like for 5 minutes after smiling, I'm like, ow. But then after a while, it just kind of goes numb, so
Right.
you don't even notice it as much. But
Right.
it's the same for being in like a suit or something. Like when I was a mascot, like it's just a lot of people are like, I would die in there. I'm like, I am dying, but I'm used to it.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. Now the one thing that I'm kind of like that I'm boggled by, like even just kind of going into the film, right, is like, do you think that there is a blacklist like of like
There are some people.
Is that a thing?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I don't care who tells you what.
Because
in
I feel like Disney's so straight up, like they just know what they want, boom, boom, and then
they
here,
do.
like you do one sort of thing and you're done, like or
Pretty
in
much,
the
yeah.
film world.
Even
I mean,
top A-listers, like you don't see them in films anymore, and there's
Right.
true rumors about them just like being too much on the set or just like being a diva. But there have been people that, I know one personally, they just, I don't know what happened. They were just so disrespectful on we were just extras at the time. And he was just being disrespectful. He was being loud. He took pictures that he shouldn't have. And the casting director just straight up like
said,
hey, don't hire this guy. This is his information that we have. So yeah, he hasn't been in anything for a very, very long time. And I think that is the sole reason right there. And she straight up said it, like we were leaving in groups, and then somebody kind of tattled on him about the pictures. But they said, this guy, the one that was talking while you were rolling, he took pictures, and I just wanted you guys to I wanted to let you know. Yeah. And they're like, great. And they just straight up wrote something down, and she straight up said like, we're never hiring him again, and neither is anybody in this area. I was like, oi. So yeah, that's definitely a thing, and
Right.
I think that's, at least to what I think that's why we don't see a lot of people in films a lot. Like if they've taken a step back from acting, oh my, and you just hear like all these things like they're just a diva on set, nobody wants to hire them anymore. Like I totally believe in blacklisting, no matter where you're at, especially in New York. Oh God, New York, the theater. It's. I feel like that's a lot easier to say, like, hey, blacklist this person, because in New York, it's just all in that like a little circled area,
like
where,
that one little place where you're in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
If you're done. You're done. If you're in the outskirts of it.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I don't blame them, especially if they're just like being disrespectful.
Right.
And
How do you feel about comedy? Like so the reason I asked this is because I love comedy. Like I think it's a great like mechanism for bad things, but
yes.
but like, do you think it's easier for let's just say actors to have a good success in comedy, or is that more like, oh my gosh, like that is a plus that like they want for when you go into this whole like filming and acting?
I think it definitely helps. I think comedy is more like I live for comedy. Like that's
Yeah.
what I do to escape. I just watch a funny movie or a family
And
movie.
that's what it's there for.
Yeah. And I think back in the day, like in the 20s, like just, you
The
know, like when,
slapstick.
yeah, that was huge. And
Right.
people were over dramatizing stuff back then. And that was the thing then, like just drama movie. And I think it kind of is now, but I think to an extent, comedy is almost being overdone. Just for certain, like certain networks. I feel like a lot of them are sitcoms because they're just trying to get people to laugh in places like, because they're kids shows mainly. If you notice, a lot of kids shows are sitcoms now, and it's like they're almost forcing them to laugh, like, hey, you should laugh at this, kids. But back when I was a kid, there was maybe like, I swear there were only like 2 sitcoms, like live audience sitcoms.
Yeah, and I mean, is it just because of us, like our generational laughter was different than how the general laughter is now?
Yeah, because back then, like you could, like the Three Stooges, you know?
Yes, like, but that in God, I mean, I was writing notes, and I was like kind of just going, if you can pick the channel that depicted your whole childhood, like there's like the 4, there's like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, there's Cartoon Network, PBS, and
ABC. I remember what channel it was, but like I know.
Yeah. So then like you're just thinking, and I'm like, the comedy around that time when we were kids, or like I'm like,
I feel like it was dry,
sarcastic.
humor.
It was like sarcastic humor. You know, it was just like I don't understand the comedy now. Like, and whenever I see him, but I think that's just like, I think we've outgrown him, but just nostalgically we'll go back and just start looking at him.
God,
like, I don't know. I don't know but I know comedy and the chops of what makes an actor a good actor. I don't know if it would be a plus, or like having that whole consensus of being like really good with comedic chops.
Yeah, it kind of like, I think sometimes some people, they try too hard. I think if it just comes naturally,
right,
in your audition, for example, like I actually got like a small feature role because I walked into a room and I tripped, and funnily enough, the girl was like supposed to be awkward and clumsy, and they're like, "Oh, haha, you're already ready." I'm like, no,
what?
Hand scene. And then I felt a lot better because I was watching some kind of interview with Anne Hathaway, and I think she said that's part of why she got Mia Thermopolis in Princess Diaries too, because she's kind of awkward and clumsy, and she said she walked in and like fell out of her seat or something like that. So I mean, like, as long as it comes naturally, or if you have I don't know, I think the dry sarcastic humor still has a huge role, but if you try too hard, it's like it kills it right away. You know, like I've known people to go into auditions before, they just muck it up because they're trying way too hard to be funny, and it's like, even if it's a comedic role, like it was just too much, you know. Like it was almost like they were trying to do the slapstick from back then, like it's way too much, rather than like if you look at Full House back in the 80s 90s when they filmed, like a lot of that was just like quick whips and stuff like that. I feel like is a lot better, and just as long as you don't try too hard, or just try to make a fool of yourself, which a lot of people try to do for some reason. They just think it's funny, but
and that's the thing. I mean, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, you know, just anytime I talk about like movies or anything like that, it's just like some people think, wasn't that funny, or just maybe it's just like why not? It was pretty hilarious. Like, or it just depends on like who it is. And I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, why is comedy such a controversial thing? And I met like, or improvers here, and I went and talked to them, and I'm just like, do you think there's a difference between like then and now, how you present comedy? And they were like, oh, big time. Like it's not the same. So it's like they either get like restricted, or they when they know like they're gonna go balls deep into like what they're gonna be doing, then oh my gosh, they go at it. And so I don't know, like I see that with television and movies now, and I mean, like I think it's just now they add it into scary movies now, or they add it like have you noticed that lately? And like the way that they like, well, it was kind of like one of the funny ones, like they have like a little bit of comedy to kind of alleviate the whole suspense and scariness of that movie. But it's just weird
it's where they place it.
And it's just weird for me to kind of like see it, like how comedy movies, they don't make like scary movies, or they don't make like the scary movie franchise, or they don't make like any of those like sort of movies that like are in the early 2000s.
And I think like it is like what you said, like it is kind of generational. Like I remember I would watch America's Funniest Videos with my grandmother, and she just thought it was funny when people just like fell off of stuff or got slapped with stuff, and I'm like, okay. But then like, I don't know, a lot of people nowadays do weird stuff. Like, do you remember the show Victorious?
Yes.
I loved that show.
That was like that. Like I think after that show, I stopped. Maybe like Big Time Rush, but like that was like the kind of cutoff scene of like where we started growing up, and like, but like what do we watch? Well, the humor just stopped, stopped and was bad after that.
And it was like, I guess it depends on the people too, because like some things they put in the show, like I actually watched an episode the other day, and there was at one point like Helen, the new principal she yelled at one of the workers because she messed up something. She's like, I have personal problems, and I was like, that's not funny. But then like the little puppet Rex, like he was the best thing about that show.
I remember Rex. It was fun. I loved his character in general. It was just funny.
Because like that stuff was random, and I think for a while they did the random stuff, and it was really funny for a while. But for some reason, him like the kids asked like, why are you watching the news? And he's like, it is fair and balanced. And I was like, all right, well, it was random, but like for some reason that was funny. You know. And like Drake and Josh was my go-to. See, and you see, like I think it's just like when we talk about that, it was like just kind of like us, like everybody, whoever, like we're just drinking or something, and we're just kind of start talking about it, like the whole character development for both of those characters was amazing. And just like I don't think that type of humor is used anymore. It's really not.
And I just get like, what is happening with movies, or what is happening with comedy? So I don't know, because I look at all these new movies coming out, and I mean, if they're trying to go with a rom-com, or they're trying to make it as a comedy, or just that in general, I guess we always try to compare it to what was funny. And I don't know, I like the idea of just kind of like depicting like is it us like moving away from like this humor? You feel like it is
that, and just like we're getting more simple-minded, I feel like, because do you remember the show All That, like when we were it can't happen, like Saturday Night Live, it's that whole kind of aspect of it. Like I just think they made a new one. Did they really? Exactly.
Stop it.
I compared it the other day, and I was
no, they didn't, Nicole.
What you doing? They're bringing back too many stuff. It's too much.
But is it the same, or what was it? What was different?
They brought back Good Burger. I compared it, and I was just like, I'm not an expert. I'm just but a mere peasant to them. Like, but like you see the differences, is what you're saying. I was like, why are kids laughing at this? Like there was a whole thing about like or there was a whole sketch about these girls were shocked that this boy's phone was like not in shambles, and they were like, you need to go to our store, and it was like a little too cheesy, and like this store like bangs up your phone for you or something, and I was like, that's
funny.
All right.
Like is that funny? Like I don't understand. Like And so this is like how my whole dilemma is with like a lot of like kids now, but maybe I don't know how it is, but like um when I was little, or like when we kind of like try to compare ourselves to, if you I don't know if you have are you the youngest, or are you like the
I'm like in the middle. I'm the Jam Brady of the bunch.
yeah middle child? I know how that feels. But yeah, like who's how old is the youngest?
Oh God.
Oh geez, I put her on the spot.
I think he's 19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So like my youngest brother, he's like 12, kind of like going to that mid stage of like hormones and shit. But I know, right? But he's he would talk about like these shows, like, oh dude, have you watched this show? Like I'm like, dude, I don't watch Disney.
Yeah.
Disney Channel is not the same or like anything like that. But then they go into like this whole realm of like gaming and how they see like technology now, and they see it like they see it as the future, that because he wants to be. I don't. When you said that when you grew up, like we wanted to be like a doctor or a firefighter, like these kids want to be like gamers, or they want to be like YouTubers, or they want to be like all these things. And I'm just kind of like, I look at them and I'm just like, dude, I don't think you're wrong. Like I do it. Like I don't know.
It's insane, and it's like. I saw something on YouTube, like when you're, late at night and you just...
You get into the rabbit hole.
Yes.
And you're just kind of like right there. I do it all the time.
It's an addiction.
It is.
The girl... So there was just like a phase. I think it still might be. I don't know. But everybody was into slime, and this girl just makes slime, and that's her YouTube channel. She just bought a house. And I think she's our age. I don't know, but just because of her slime videos, she bought a house. Like, hey, like, here, mom, here's 10 grand. Go wild. Pretty much. It's insane to think that we've gone that far. And I know it's just weird to think about, because it hasn't been that long since the first I remember the first iPhone was, I think I was in like 8th grade or something like that. And I was like, thinking back, I was like, that wasn't that long ago.
No,
like, it's almost
like,
scary how fast everything's evolving.
Well, like 11 years. But like the Razor, that was like you remember that?
Yes.
Like I'm thinking like that one, yes. And then you got the keyboard, the keyboard phones, like the Blackberries, and then you had the little
sidekicks.
Yes, like you know what I'm talking about.
I couldn't work that.
But so many things that were nostalgic back then, like. And how fast things are moving. It's just kind of like it makes me kind of look at the overall spectrum of entertainment of like, and film is part of that, and how I see how like amusement parks, and how I see all these things like in a broad sense, like in a macro scale. How do you think that this is a new renaissance for entertainment, kind of like I don't know when the kind of like a renaissance for like the 20s or the 30s, like the 1920s or 30s, kind of like where film slowly was emerging. And do you feel like this would be like a new but with technology kind of like doing this?
I'm not even sure. Like my mind can't even wrap around half this stuff that goes on, and actually,
it's so fast,
it is. And I can't remember what the commercial was for, but they made a very good point how basically we had a caveman, back in the day, and then now people have become actual cavemen because they're on their phone, or they have those little goggle thingies, and we've become like, we went back into the cave, and how nobody really goes out and they don't do anything anymore. So because of that, it makes me feel like this could be a good time to do film because nobody goes out and do anything. And it just, it's kind of sad, because I feel like the movie WALL-E kind of predicted a few things.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I feel like film will be in it for the long run, especially now that people are just like glued to their phones. And even Facebook, at one of the shows I was in while we were filming, they're like, yeah, it's going to be on Facebook Watch. I was like, what is that? Apparently,
Facebook Watch?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know about that until like I saw like Zac Efron's little cartoon thing that he's in. He's like this where they're cavemen or like, you know what I'm talking about?
Not at all.
I see it on Facebook all the time, like little like glimpses of it. He's like he's a voice actor for one of them, and I'm like, Facebook, what is that like? And then you have YouTube Red, and then you have
Netflix originals. And, even Snapchat.
For real? Wait.
Yeah, I found out last year. I was following some show called Dead Girls Society or something like that. It's really odd, but it was addictive. But it's like, it's kind of annoying because you have to kind of like, it's those weird breaks and the.
Those would be shorter though.
Yeah, they really are. But it's. I found a good detective one, so it like draws me, even though it's short. Yeah. It like drew me in, and I was like, this is so weird. Like to think that Snapchat has it.
Amazon Prime. Hulu. I mean, shoot, Disney's about to come out with theirs.
Oh God, nobody's gonna see me for months.
It's gonna be insane.
It's all the stuff that I grew up.
I know. So that, and like, that's crazy. How to believe like it's just slowly going to a fast paced thing. And I mean, we haven't even got to like virtual reality. We haven't got to like all these other things that can boost or plummet entertainment. I don't know. Yeah. Like, I look at all these and I'm like voice acting. Have you ever tried to consider? Like, I don't know. That's just another form of acting. I just didn't know if that was a prime thing. Also, kind of like to look into, or how hard it would be. Because, I mean, this is essentially like kind of like voice acting, sorta. Kinda. Not even, but like adding the realm of video is just kind of like you gotta do all these movements and shit.
You just, for voice acting, a lot of the times they just want you to do more than one voice. Like if you, like I can do Tommy from the Rugrats, like I can do his voice, but
I want to hear that.
No, God, no.
You already said it.
No. Hard pass. But like they want you to do more than just like one voice, like in different voices that you don't really hear. Like my friend Lacey, she's actually trying to be a voice actress and she can do all sorts of weird voices. And I'm like, how did you even come up with that? And I don't even know how she did. I don't think she's told me yet, but they want that, and they want you to be animated in your voice. If that sounds weird.
So kind of like make the facial structure.
A little bit,
like that.
Yeah. And somebody told me that, like, when I first applied for the program, they're like, when you're on the phone, just talk like you're smiling.
I remember that. They was like, put a mirror right in front of you just to make sure you're always smiling on the phone. Just keep a smile on your. Like there's a difference in the way you talk. Like when you're smiling and you're not smiling. Like
and and you can totally tell in your voice. That's what they mean to be like animated in your voice. Like I could be talking to you like this, like very flat, but then like I could get like really excited, really excited. Like those broadcasters.
Like, your eyebrows are just talking, and you're just kind of like, oh my God, it's just
So I think that definitely has a huge future. Voice acting, gosh, yes. I think it's honestly, I think it's less money for
studios or for in general.
I would think so. Because less takes. I mean, more animation, but.
How do you feel about animation though? Like, how do you like? Do you like
so much?
Like besides our Disney animation, but like the CGI computer generated, and how do you feel about all that? Do you feel like it's like, because I was talking to a friend just recently about it, and like the way that they make a movie. Have you ever seen Van Gogh?
Oh God, I haven't thought about that in a while.
But have you seen it? Yeah. Like the way that they have like the portrait, and it's just like a animation of that.
It's a weird,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you feel like that is maybe? I'm probably talking a stretch, but there's like another YouTube movie that's coming out that has that same sort of idealistic way of a movie. Do you feel like that's like a new genre, but like or trend?
I guess so, because when I first saw...
It's Van Gogh, right? Like that movie,
I'm pretty sure. I was just kind of confused. I thought it was a commercial, but... You saw something just like that? Yeah. Okay. It was, I want to say it was for Prime. I don't know, something for Amazon Prime was doing something kind of like that.
Something like that. Was it, did you see the girl from George Lopez and, or... I know which one you're talking about, but I maybe because I think I saw like a commercial about it.
Yeah.
Also, like it comes out in September or something like that.
Something like
Something
that.
like
Yeah.
that.
And it's weird what they're coming up with, but I think nowadays they're just like, well, we're doing a lot of reboots and a lot of not reboots, like
Nostalgically picking
yeah,
things.
yeah, and they're just trying to think of the next big thing or the next thing that'll maybe draw attention to people. It's odd what people come up with, but it's amazing because they never stop coming up with it. It's like songs, if you think about it. I'm like, there's so many notes, and you would think that at one point we would just end up singing the same songs over and over.
It would be repeated.
But somehow they keep thinking of hits. Like I keep thinking, like I have a favorite song right now, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have a favorite song
for a while.
Yeah, but society surprises me every time, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And even Taylor Swift, like she's still going pretty
she's
strong.
still going strong. Like
oh my gosh,
like,
yeah.
What 2008 was a country Taylor, and then just like right. That's what I'm saying. It's just like it's so weird how she's transitioned to like all these different like
genres.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
She's rocking
it. Don't get me wrong. Like, whatever works. But that's just the adaptability of like transcending the
growing,
differences of the music. The music industry is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like how slow or fast that the movie industry is going, it just kind of like depicts like, man, are they trying to make this a more technolified? The reason I say that is just because like the recent live action movies, and they think it's the next big wave of where the movies are going. Like
that's basically all there is right now.
See, so I don't know. I don't know how to depict it, because you look at the other side of the spectrum, which is anime. Like, do you watch a lot of anime?
Not a lot, but I've watched a few.
Yeah. So like, but that 2D animation is
timeless.
It's superior over there, and I just kind of like look at it and say, wow, are we doing something wrong over here? Like how like, because we stopped making 2D, and it's just weird to kind of like how to compare those two things alike. So I don't know how it kind of tends to have value in movies now.
Even with the 2D, you can see a lot of change. Like it's weird. Like I walked in on my nephew watching Arthur, and I was like, I remember this show, and I looked at the animation. I was like, this
sucks.
Like it's weird almost. And but then you look at anime, and I grew up watching like Kiki's Delivery Service and stuff like that. But then I just recently found the show One Punch Man.
You are going into some. I love One Punch Man too, but he's just this more sarcastic. Like, oh my god, like the way he talks and his voice and everything. It's new.
But like it's still the same kind of animation. Like I can't think too hard about it. There's always one scene that kills me a little bit. But they're doing the same thing, maybe a little bit different.
Right.
But then like looking back at like Yu-Gi-Oh or Dragon Ball Z, like it's almost
Pokemon,
the same.
It's all in the same. Yeah, it's like all in the same realm.
It's almost the same humor too. Almost. One Punch Man is a little bit more vulgar.
Well, it's the difference between the Y7 and the like the 14 TV14, whichever one. I don't know how they kind of rate it over there, but
it's still working. But like, I don't know. America's just like, we need the next big thing, and I think sometimes they just get a little too weird.
Yeah.
Because you saying that just now, they really haven't done any 2D in a while. But thinking about it, even if it is still going on, like I think The Simpsons is still kind of the same.
Family Guy.
Even like, Family Guy, they've kind of grown with some of the animation. It's just odd to think about now looking at that. But
that's what the podcast is for. I just love talking about this stuff, like because I love entertainment in general, but you just kind of tend to not think about like because how fast things are going, that you don't look within the kind of like the in-betweens of like where technology is kind of making the industry is going. Because you look at Toy Story, the very first one, And then you look at
animation.
yes, like so blocky, so
Yeah.
like you can tell the lighting was different and how they
Mhm.
kind of like made it look. And
But then again, I'd rather that one to the fourth one.
see what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's becoming stale, but like they still draw emotion from us.
Mhm.
Whether it is just because, you know, we grew up with it
Mhm.
and we know the franchise. Oh man, Coco got me
I can't.
good.
Mm-mm.
I know.
I
Like
can't.
see, and I was like, they keep coming up with all these great ideas, great inspirational diverseness
Yeah.
of like movies, and I'm just kind of like glad that won't be going anywhere anytime
Right.
soon.
Yeah.
But then I look at Van Gogh and I look at like that whole idealistic
Weird.
aesthetic
Yeah.
look of it, and I'm just like,
What you doing?
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I just know it's like, wow, like this is going to be something maybe later on. Like maybe it's
Mhm.
too early or
Yeah.
maybe not, but
And sometimes like the growth is good. I mean, even
Yeah.
looking at Pixar, I don't remember which DVD it was on, but they were looking back at their very first, I think before Pixar was Pixar, but their very first thing together was like some kind of, like it was a baby and a little toy thingy. I think it was called Tintin or something.
yes. I know which one you're talking
Yeah.
about now. I
They-
know which one you're talking about.
And even looking at that, that was their first one, and I was
Yeah.
just like, oh my gosh! But like, it's
Like we were
good
still
that they-
alive
Yeah.
whenever that was like
gosh.
going on.
But the growth was good.
Mhm.
But then I look at this stuff now, I'm like, mm. Like there's more detail. For example, in Toy Story 4, like it's weird. Disney's really weird with their Easter eggs and their detail. Like it's insane. Like if you look in the reflections of the toy's eyes, sometimes you can see like whatever it is, like they're looking. It's weird the details they go into. But some growth is good like that. But then I don't know. I feel like people are just, they're so focused on not on the growth, but just like the next big thing. And that's the frustrating part. Because I mean, it's even with the Disney World parks, like, yeah, we're growing, but
yeah.
it's a lot at once, and it's just.
Did you? Just speaking of that, like, did you see some like the articles of like the flop of Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah, that's why we're.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to say too much.
I know we try not to. I like that's even thing, but reality check on. I love Star Wars.
Me too.
And that's the kind of drawback is just I don't know why it flopped, or I don't know why it was.
They just hyped it up too much, honestly.
You think?
They did the same thing in Disneyland. They just hyped it up so much, and everybody's like, yeah. It's
because it aesthetically looks
it's great.
amazing.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't longing to go back to Galaxy's Edge
Yeah.
as much as I still love Pandora.
Same. Yeah.
Right?
Something
Like
about Pandora.
something about Pandora is just
Yeah.
like draws you
That
in,
flight of
and you
passage.
just and you're in this whole world. The way it looks, it's just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole completely different world. Also, like Galaxy's Edge
Yeah.
is, and I'm just kind of like, why is Pandora so much more inviting?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is either. I actually had this conversation on the boat with my coworker last night.
Yeah.
Like, I love Flight of Passage. It actually feels
Yes.
like you are
Yes.
flying.
Yes, it feels the sense, the water
Yes.
just
Oh my
coming at
gosh.
you, and it's just
It's
so
intense.
alive.
It's
Yes.
intense. And then you get on the Millennium Falcon, which
Yeah,
is
that's
again
what
like
it
a motion
Kind of the
one.
same thing, yeah.
And I guess it's just too much like the Star Tours.
Okay.
I think it's partially that. And I also think social media had something to do with it.
Also.
This is the frustrating thing about social media is that when you log on, you see everybody living their life and you're like, I want that. And you see them going to Disney and they're like, I want that.
I was just talking about this on previous episode. Keep going.
It's insane. But everybody's like, oh, we got to take our picture with that. Like they're not concerned about their experience. They just want the pictures. They want the bragging rights almost. And I think so many people saw some live videos or actual videos of the place and they're like, okay, well that's good enough. I don't have to go there.
Right, like they just want the look or the front. Boom. All right, go. Let's
Picture
go.
and get out. And it's dead season for Disney, so
Yes.
that might have had something to do with it. But Disney, there's just a lot going on right now, and I think so many people were concerned with Galaxy's Edge, and now that they've done that, they're waiting for the other big thing. But I think it's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be the same thing. I feel like.
And with all the things that are going on, I don't know which one's coming first, but I think they're just going to be like, all right, take a picture, brag to everybody, I'm gone.
Like, I talk about social media a lot, just kind of like the effects of what it does.
Yeah.
And
it's depressing sometimes.
Yes. And one of the previous podcast or episodes, she's also a podcaster, but the way that she kind of made me look at it from take off my rose-colored glasses and kind of look at the whole ideal of when you go to a park and you kind of just want that picture. Oh my God. Like, people are living through their screen, and like, it's just so perfectionalized, so unrealistic, and so
especially for
surreal.
Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. And so what I ended up comparing it to was like so many people when you go watch the fireworks and you watch them, like maybe the next time you go see them, everybody has their phone up. You see the lift, you see the fireworks in the little screen everywhere. And I was just kind of mesmerized by how many people would rather just have that. Like, I think maybe going there, I fall victim to it all the time too. But I mean, that just shows how strong social media is and how much of a tie it gets you. But like you go and take somebody and you're just kind of like, take it for the experience. And it's like every time it's going to be different. And then I'm like looking and I'm like, I don't even need my phone. Like, this is perfect. Like, I don't need to share everything I'm doing every freaking day. And I'm like, this is really bizarre and so insane how people can just go inside of a realistic or unrealistic platform and just kind of like, oh my God, this is their life. This is what they do every day. This is, oh my God, look at that. And like, I saw it and I was like, freak.
And it's like that with a lot of people. I mean, I used to be like that. I mean, like, I didn't do it for bragging rights. I just wanted to update people.
Well,
like,
is that because of your acting, or is that because of, just maybe the infancy of social media was where you were at?
Kind of. It's like, and I had the time too.
Right.
That was the frustrating thing. Like, I was just bored. So
yes,
I mainly use Facebook now for its intentions.
Right.
Like checking up on people. Like, I don't even have an Instagram. I just have Snapchat, Facebook. That's it. And so like
that is hard to do. Keep going.
People would say, "Do you have an IG?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
I remember asking you too, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I don't have that." I'm like, "That's funny."
Yeah. But it's insane because a lot of people go to Instagram or YouTube or Facebook just for the bragging rights and say, "Hey, I'm doing this." And I used to take a lot of pictures and videos, not to post, but for my benefit and just to go back and remember them. But then recently, actually, I've been so busy with work and hanging out with friends, like, and not having my phone. I've never been glued to my phone, but I do check it a lot. I don't post as much as I used to because I'm either working or I'm like talking with my friends face to face. And even at meal times, I make sure it's face down. And if I'm somewhere new, like, I'll still take pictures and small videos to remember, but it's really refreshing. And there's even studies that show, that much time on social media will make you depressed, and anxiety is unreal. And there was even a photographer that I've been seeing it going around lately, but it showed people, like, he photoshopped their phones or laptops or whatever.
Like I saw the one like where they're in bed and it's just kind of like
back
right
to
there
back.
back to back. I saw that recently.
It's so sad. He's like, it's a lonely life, and it's super sad because a lot of people are living their like it. I fall victim to it every day. Like, I see people like,
we're human. Like, I understand. Like,
and just seeing people like engaged or having babies, and I'm just like, my dog just ate a ladybug. Like,
and I think that might be the kind of going off the status quo, or like kind of that is the normal day, because maybe that's just like where you grew up and you're seeing how they're doing. And so, like, because I see that in Texas all the time, and or just kind of like on social media how everybody's doing, and
why people rush into things.
Yes, and I hate saying it like that, but it's just kind of like I think mine had to do with like heritage or like the way that I grew up, and it's
Yeah.
just like everybody was young when they had kids.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's I don't know if it was the same for you, but
Yeah,
even
yeah.
that, yeah, like kind of like it made you look within and kind of say like, do I want this right now?
Right.
Do I
Yeah.
don't
Am I
think
ready
so.
for it?
Like, am I
Yeah.
ready for this? And you know, just kind of all of that kind of plays an effect, and with not just kind of like with social media also.
Mhm.
I think if you don't know how to kind of like but like not push down, but to withhold a lot of
Yeah.
that sort of like social anxiety and like the fear of missing out and the
Right.
fear of like,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of like the tactics and the way that people sort of react to all of that.
Yeah.
Because I think how I'm kind of like talking to is just kind of like a lot more people are scared of being lonely.
Oh,
so
yeah.
so when that plays an effect, they need to go with people. They
Right.
need to go do all these things and
Mhm.
like to kind of make it seem like their
They have an
reality.
exciting,
Yes.
yeah. And that's why I feel like a lot of just relationships fail, because everybody sees like they're so happy. Like, why aren't, like, you know, it's social media, almost all of it is fake. And that's why I stopped putting like acting stuff on there. And even when I travel,
Props.
like I'll post like one photo and say like, this is gorgeous. And again, not to brag, but just like, I like telling people like how I went to Europe on such a small budget, and like
I think you agreed to get on the podcast a long time ago, but you said you're gonna go, and somewhere I'm like, oh yeah, perfect. Just let me know when you get back. And
yeah.
so like literally, you said, oh, I went everywhere. You said,
like
I
three
went
different places.
You went to Europe. You
Yeah.
went I'm like, where the fuck did you go?
Yeah,
Like it was just
everywhere,
like
'cause
shit
I can. Like, this is the time to
to
like,
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know when you told me that, I was just kind of like, well, shit. All right. Like, do you want to talk about it too? Like, that's cool.
Yeah, no. And I tell people that all the time. Like, a lot of my coworkers are like, why are you going on vacation? I'm like, because I can.
Right.
And especially if I have the time off, and if you budget it out, like,
Everything is possible right there
it
if you
really
know how
is.
to do it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I try to really emphasize that too. Like, even on people on Facebook, they're like, oh, I wish I could go. I'm like, then go. Don't make excuses for yourself. And that's finally
Right.
what I did. I said, you know what, for my birthday, I'm going to Paris. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. And
I'm going to Paris, ladies and gentlemen. Like, just go real quick.
and I just kind of developed that mentality a few years ago, just because like I was in a really bad wreck with my friend, and then like
Right.
it just made me realize like life can just be gone
Gone
like
in an
that.
instant.
And I think that's when I stopped posting my acting stuff too, because a lot of my friends, they would see that I'm acting, and I knew they weren't really into acting.
Yeah.
They just wanted the bragging rights, and they've asked me a lot of questions, and of course I help them. And a lot of them post like, oh, I'm on the set, like, oh, I'm doing this, and I'm like, that's good.
That's good.
Just, but you know, just do it for the right reason.
Yeah,
and
it's like don't post it on. You don't need to be. You don't need to know. And me and Colin were talking about that. He's like, people don't need to be like knowing everything I'm doing every single day. Like they don't. And that's the hard thing about like vloggers and people that need social media for money, finance, anything like they're doing. But he was just like, dude, that's the hard thing. Like you fall victim to a lot of these things,
Right.
and you pull up a front, and when you pull up that front, it's going to be hard for you to kind of like
keep it up
and to sustain and to be, because now you're causing so much more harm to yourself.
Right.
And that's hard for, I don't know if that's my phone. But
I don't know. Yep. How about that?
you want to get it?
It's all right.
That's
I thought I had it on.
I was like, okay. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know how kind of to kind of narrow it down to one thing, because there's many possible, like, not things, but pretty much there's like different ways that people will look at social media. And from that, I just think like that's why it would affect everybody differently, because loneliness, depression, the anxiety to kind of always be wanting to be a part of something, and
it's all about the likes
the
and
likes.
loves, and
it's like, I think they said when you get that sense of dopamine, is like how they
Yes,
kind of
actually.
say it. and I'm not gonna, don't quote me on this, people, but like what that sense of like pleasure that you get from like someone liked it, or like if I put a picture up and no one likes it, like what does that say about me, or like shit like that.
It's kind of sad. I mean, like, there are people I know who are doing missionary work in Hong Kong right now.
Yeah.
And they're only posting right now about it to get more people to donate or to come with them. But then you have, like, I know somebody who recently, I don't know why, but she like took a selfie with her, like there was a homeless person or something. And then she took a selfie with him and told the story about like, oh, she possibly saved his life. And I knew it wasn't like sincere because the way she talked about it. And I was like, ooh, come on. And she, you know, I feel like it was all about the likes. Like, why do you have to tell people that you gave somebody money for food? You know, just do it. And then just,
it's unnatural. Like, and I think, like, the way that a lot of people can get lost in that whole idea of living is just so sad.
Very
so
sad. Yeah.
Dang, I don't know. Like social media can be used for great purposes, but I think if you don't like know how to time manage that, even also, or like whenever you said you don't have an Instagram, or like I don't have Facebook on my front page, and like I saw studies that kind of say like if you have it, like you tend to put it somewhere where you don't see it, you don't click it as much.
Yeah.
So I put it like on the third one or something. So like, and I would get on it, not that much as I used to, but to promote my podcast, that's what I would initially do. And I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't know I had all these notifications, but I don't use it as much.
Yeah.
You know? So there's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of like help you cope with it. And honestly, like there's a lot, like, I mean, schools don't teach this. Schools don't teach how to manage money, how to manage your time, how to manage all these different things.
Change a tire.
There you go. How to do your taxes, how to do all these things that you need in life. And I mean, that I can go on and on about like freaking schools and like the whole idea of that. And but like maybe the experiences are going to have to like tell you, like you're going to have to fail, you're going to have to get in debt, you're going to have to know all these different things to know like, fuck, maybe I need to look at this a little bit more. Right. And because of that, like this podcast, like I love helping people understand that. Do you ever see yourself as like as a person that can teach? Because you essentially do that already.
I actually really wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. My parents and like half of my siblings are teacher.
So you, like that's a hard one to come out of too.
It is, and they just go through so much too. For as little as they're paid, they go through so much. And my parents have actually, and there was actually a study on this too. Like parents who are teachers usually try to steer their kids away from it,
right? Unless
they have a strong passion for it. They're just like, listen, you know, at this day and age, it's just it's crazy what they go through. It's tough. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I mean, I was a parapro for a preschool for a little bit. Okay. And again, I loved it so much, but they just go through so much they don't deserve, you know, like, and they put so much time in that they're not thanked for. But I think that's why people still do it, though. They know it's a thankless job, but they love teaching.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different ways to teach now that I think that technology hasn't sort of taken the stakes that you need to take, so that way it can help as a tool that can help you reach more people or help you teach more people. And I mean, that's essentially like how because I mean, I meant more of I didn't know you wanted to be a teacher, but but like I meant like a teacher as in like you can help people like with their acting chops, and you can help people do all this stuff. Like I can see you doing that. That's awesome. Like I just like the way that you kind of like help other people that way. I think that's all that plays really good in what you want to do. Like as an actor or actress, and I don't know, like I don't know if I can do it, but I like doing this. So that's why it's like good, because whenever you came on here and you were kind of like, you know what, like you kind of, I didn't know a lot of stuff. Like I didn't know you want to be a teacher. I didn't know
Right.
you went through like a lot of this hardship to kind of get to where you are now.
Mhm.
And it's like, wow,
I
like
think that's why I can become like a teacher,
right,
just so I
right,
can
kind
get
of
my
like
failures.
and teaching from experience from
Mhm.
there. I don't know, but that's really. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. So like
It's fun.
this, yeah, I like this was very authentic. So that's
Mhm.
why when people listen to this, I want the messages to be like as close to authentically as you possible. So it's
Right.
like your episode.
Mhm.
And granted, I love entertainment, so that's why I like you talking about this and you kind of like opening up about a lot of different experiences that you've gone through.
Mhm.
Even just kind of like just comparing or
Right.
just even just like same, like I didn't know that. It just
Mhm.
like just having those certain feelings right there just kind of shows that actually social media is not gonna be there to
Yeah.
help you with the hard times. So you gotta
Yeah.
know, like really look within.
Mhm.
So with that, thank you, Mallory.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Sorry for the little hiccup that we had there,
It's
ladies and
all right.
gentlemen, and for you too, Mallory. But thanks for sticking in there, and it was great. I love talking to you. You're gonna be back, and it's
Thank
good.
you, yeah.
Like it was great. It was great to have you on, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of Johnny's Reviews, and this is Mallory Murdock, ladies and gentlemen. She is an actress. She has a lot of great things going for her. I would want to promote her, and I want to actually make her feel inspired to keep doing this. And it's just like I love having people with talents on here. She is a talented woman, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on. Thank you for
Of course.
listening, guys. You know the deal. This is gonna just like, subscribe. Go on Spotify, help out the channel, and just kind of promote this, because this is my mission. Is I love helping people this way to kind of tend to relate and feel for everybody. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next time. If you want to wave to the camera just to kind of say bye. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.